Much like many of my episodes, a movie poster has about 3 seconds to make you care. 3 seconds. And in that time, it has to tell you what the movie feels like, who it's for, and whether you should spend 2+ hours of your life on it. So who's responsible for that? Hi, I'm Cami, and let's talk about movie posters in under 5 minutes. Posters are not just marketing materials, they are often the first piece of storytelling we experience. Long before we see a scene, long before we hear a score, we see an image, and that image has to translate an entire film into a single frame. Historically, movie posters were hand-painted works of art. Artists would interpret the mood, the scale, the drama. Sometimes the posters were even more epic than the film itself. These weren't just ads, they were illustrations designed to pull you into a world. As the industry evolved, photography and digital compositing took over. Star power became central. A poster had to balance artistry with clarity. And now in the streaming era, the job is even harder. Designers are creating something that works on a theater wall and also as a tiny thumbnail on your phone. It has to be legible when cropped. It has to pop while someone is scrolling. It has to compete with hundreds of other images. And poster designers are translating tone, theme, character, and scale into one emotional promise. They work with photographers, art directors, marketing teams, and sometimes filmmakers to create the visual identity of a film. And here's what really fascinates me. Some posters become iconic. They live on bedroom walls, in dorm rooms, as collector prints. They become part of pop culture history. And how often do we know the name of the person who created that image? We talk about directors and cinematographers, and we should, but the designer who crafted the first visual introduction to the story, that role is just as important and just as intentional. There's also a broader conversation about creative labor. Who owns that artwork? How are designers credited? How does compensation work when a poster becomes culturally iconic? Because when an image defines an era of film, someone made it. As someone who loves talking about storytelling, adaptation, and visual language, I think it's important to widen the lens and recognize that posters are part of the cinematic experience. They are not separate from the art, they're just the first chapter of it. Movie posters aren't just decoration. They're our first impression, our first intro into a world. And that deserves recognition.